Alright gang, what's up? I hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to give you a quick thank you for all for the support recently. Just again, those core community members that leave comments and like and sub, but just know that I appreciate you greatly. I've got something a little different for you today. A little bit of just a yapper tier list video. Nothing crazy. I just need a break. The next video should be a higher quality one, but I just wanted to break to yap for a bit and talk about a few of these things because it helps me like formulate my opinions for future content and whatnot. So this is a tier list. We're doing a Helminth tier list today, and just a few rules to knock out of the way. So we have Z through C here. S, A, B, C is like your standard. You're used to that. You've seen that. S is like perfect. A is like a few flaws. B is like average-ish, slightly above average, and C is average or like pretty below average. I don't really believe in like that there's like super bad helmet abilities, so I try not to include like a D and F tier. There's just no point really. Z tier is so good that it's frustrating. What does that mean? Z tier is effectively like it robs other helmets of a choice or of a chance to shine, which is a problem. Not necessarily that things in Z tier deserve nerfs, especially in the context of Warframe and especially in the context of helmet abilities. Not to say they need a nerf, but it's more of like, I wish there were other options that I could go instead of, and I'm just going to slot it in right now because, yeah, I wish there were more options for increasing status damage and Warframe ability damage than Roar. I think Roar is pretty, unfortunately, I mean, it's like, everyone makes like comments about putting Roar in every build, and yeah, unfortunately, like more than 50% of the roster could use more damage on their abilities, and Roar is the only ability that does that. Besides, like, you know, certain debuffs and damage vulnerability things, like sure, but that's way inconvenient relative to like a buff that applies on yourself. You know, there's no range requirement to be built there, so it allows you to get as much strength as you can without having to invest into range for the most part. I hope DE adds more interesting things, like something to buff like maybe toxin ability, something to buff fire slash whatever, something more creative than having to just slap Roar on it, because a lot of Warframes rely on their abilities or status to do damage, same with weapons, and Roar just feels annoying in that regard. So yeah, we're gonna run through these, and don't forget to like, subscribe, whatever. I just wanted to give you guys a quick kind of format, because I'm gonna use this kind of format for my future tier lists. So we're just going to move from top left to bottom right. Airburst from Zephyr. This is the ability that could either disperse enemies at a fixed point or bring them together. It's a tap hold cast. This one's probably going to end up, we're going to start with A. I think it's a very good grouping tool. It's a little bit better than Mag's Pull in my opinion, because you can cast it. It's a projectile that has an end point, meaning you can achieve the same thing or a similar thing to what Pull achieves by casting it like at the floor in front of you, or if you want to group enemies, you know, in a further direction to something that you want to group them into, whatever, that's an option, which gives it like more range in a sense. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but yeah, that's just how I see it. It's a useful ability, not going to see much mileage, because when it comes to the Helminth system, and this is going to be a common trend, is that there is usually one best Helminth for one activity, whether that's grouping, damage, buffing, whatever. There is usually going to be one best option with I would say a healthy amount of discrepancy, but generally there's going to be one best choice. Aqua Blades, the Augment's fine, I guess, but I haven't had much experience with Aqua Blades. I can get pretty good damage, but there's just more ways to do damage. Banish is Limbo's. Yeah, Limbo is Limbo's kit, as much as it frustrates me and as much as I wish it would get, you know, reworked a little bit. Limbo is a very complete frame, and so taking an ability from him, it means it's not going to mesh well with other Warframes, unfortunately. So yeah, Banish from Limbo, just not great. Blood Altar from Garuda. I would say this can go in B. I don't think it's great. It's a source of constant healing. It also allows you to like keep a target invulnerable in one spot. So if you're like doing like some kind of debuffing, or like you're playing Mag and you want to keep the target, keep that like suck from her too, that's totally an option. Blood Altar is like fine. I couldn't see myself using it really, but it's definitely not in the same territory as like Banish, I don't think. Breach Surge is S, and it's not even close. All of your bullets become buy one get one free. You fire a bullet and the damage gets multiplied and flies to an enemy and does like those again, even more damage. This applies, it's good for single target, it's good for AoE, like the CC in itself is quite good. Breach Surge is nuts. I mean, it fits on so many frames, and you don't need the most range either. Its base range is very competent. Yeah, for some reason it doesn't have reduced range. I have like the wiki page on my second monitor so I can fact check myself, but I don't believe it does. Yeah, that's crazy. It actually has no nerf to range. So yeah, Breach Surge is nuts. Strongly recommend. Charinka Pillar. I mean, yeah, radiation is just not that useful. If I wanted to CC enemies, I would probably use like Nyx Chaos or whatever. Like I don't think so, man. Just not worth it. I don't think. If I wanted to do radiation, I'd probably just use a priming weapon. Not really a priming weapon, but I would just put it on a weapon. This is not worth the ability slot. On Corvex it works. It does its thing. Again, similar to Banish, it does its thing. It's just like it's part of a complete kit, and when you take it with Helminth, there is no complete kit to work with. Coil Horizon is a grouping ability of all time. This is from Geyer. This is the little bowling ball you fire out, and it eats enemies up. This is just, again, it's the same thing as Air Burst, although this thing has some clunky ass physics that I just don't want to deal with at any given time. Condemn. Condemn is really good, and it would definitely be S tier if this is Hera's ability that CCs enemies with the chains and gives you shield and overshield. Condemn probably belongs in S tier, but I'm going to keep it in A, only because there's so many more effective ways to gain shields and shield gate. But Condemn is really good. I don't see it on very many frames. I see it on maybe Zaku and Hildren, probably. Those are like the two of the bigger users of it, but generally I just don't see Condemn as that good of a Helminth ability in terms of like if we're talking like the S tiers. It just doesn't belong there. But it's definitely really good, and thematically is very cool. Decoy. So this is very augment reliant. Without the augment, it is useless, which will make me leave it in C tier. It doesn't really deserve B tier because it doesn't really stand on its own legs. You kind of need damage decoy in order to make this work. When damage decoy operate, man, ugh. Okay, yeah. When damage decoy operates, this thing does pretty well. So I guess I'll leave it at B. Yeah, that's fine. This is good for some certain cheese setups. There's stuff with Titania's lantern I think you can do. Nyx's mind control you can do with this. So I'll leave it here. That's fine. Defy. This is from Wukong. This is the ability where he goes invulnerable and then spins the staff around. It has a nerf where its armor cap is 750. That is not enough for an ability, I don't think. Not great. So yeah, we don't care for Defy. You can't do anything while you're invulnerable. So it's just kind of buns. Desiccate. There are much better options if you're trying to blind people than Desiccate. The cat thing is fun if you use the augment, and that kind of makes you want to put it up here. But even then, the cats aren't as insane without the Volt playstyle. But because I like cats, yeah, it's getting popped in B. I think that's actually pretty appropriate. Dispensary is either A or S. This is from Protea. There are infinitely better ways to get energy, unfortunately, but the ammo is very nice, and obviously there is the condition you kind of want to have equilibrium or some form of equilibrium if you want to get energy from it. So for that reason, I'll put it in A. I think that's fine. Even though like equilibrium can be acquired from like Archon Shard nowadays, I still think that A is an appropriate spot for it. Eclipse is S. This is mostly for the damage reduction version everyone kind of plays towards. Obviously, if you want to turn on the buffing version, you can, but it's been gutted like insanely hard in terms of like for like Helminth. On Mirage, it's perfect. It's awesome. But 75% DR multiplicative with like other sources of damage reduction is going to be really, really good. I think Eclipse is like amazing on basically any Warframe you put it on that isn't straight up invulnerable or like even like stacks Overguard. It could even be good on that. Elemental Ward has unique. You kind of have to know ball with Elemental Ward. It can do some funny, weird things. And having like multiple options, it can do a lot. It's like one of the only reload speed Helminths. I think it is actually the only reload speed Helminth. So that has niche applications. It can do something. It's just I don't think it's that great relative to like the other defensive or offensive options. Ensnare is from Korra. That's the little chain thing she throws out. It's probably gonna be S, only because I do think it is the best grouping Helminth. Like there's some close like Larva and Polar. They're pretty good. But I would say that Ensnare's ability to work on Acolytes and a couple other things that really shouldn't work on is insanely good. And even like, and that's like single target grouping, but it's not just all there is. Like she groups entire enemies. It's such an easy thing to cast and aim and work with. Ensnare from Korra probably belongs in S tier. Okay, it's bias time. I think Evade is really good. My bias would have me put it in S tier. Just quickly, like I think the way I grade these is like 50% the community and 50% my personal bias. And with that, it makes me put it in A. I think it can be really frustrating to keep up in multiplayer content. Because like you can't really control enemies as well as you'd like to. Enemies aren't facing you. Grenier cannot be backshot, unfortunately, with headshots. So that, yeah, like it's just not as good as I'd like it to be. But Evade finds its home on a lot of my builds. I really like this Subsume because I just like weak point gameplay. I think it's fun as shit. Fire Blast stinks. Terrify exists. It's nerfed as well. You can't get the overguard from the augment or heal from the augment. Actually, I think you can heal from the augment. I might be spreading some fake news on that one. But yeah, this is not great. There's better ways to proc heat and there's better ways to armor strip. So this is Fire Blast is kind of buns. Looks cool though. So if that interests you, I guess you could go for that. Firewalker is from Neja. This ability gets taken off of Neja builds. So unfortunate. It has status immunity, I believe, which is quite good, and it's fun to walk around and deal damage. But I don't think that it has any like serious place on any like serious build. It makes me want to put it in B, but man, I don't know. Yeah, I'll just put it in B. I think that's totally acceptable. We'll do that for the femboys. I think that's totally acceptable. Fracture Blast is nerfed for some reason. There's better ways to get energy and health orbs, unfortunately. I don't know why Fracture Blast... Is it that strong of an ability? I didn't know that. It seems... I don't know why it's nerfed in Helminth. That's confusing. This is from Citrine. It makes enemies drop health orbs and energy orbs, but the chances are reduced quite a bit in the Helminth system. I didn't know it was that strong, personally. But I would say... I mean, it still does a decent bit, but like there's just better options for energy and health, so I'm gonna leave it in C. Ice Wave from Frost. I hopefully don't have to explain this to you, but if I do, this ability does nothing on Frost, and it will definitely do nothing on your other Warframes. This ability has needed some love for a long time. I think it needs to deal like slash damage or something. I genuinely have no idea. Larva is a very acceptable grouping tool. And because I'm putting Ensnare, again, these are all relative to each other. Because I'm putting Ensnare in S tier, I feel like it's pretty fair to put this in A tier. It's just a great grouping tool. I mean, it's real simple, real quick. I think due to it needing an augment to be recast, is that correct? I could be wrong on that. I might leave it in B, but it's not... Yeah, okay, I'll put it in Coil Horizon tier. I think that's fine. Airburst is just easier to use, and Airburst has the alt fire that lets you disperse enemies. Why you would like want to disperse enemies? I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm ignorant. I'm not really sure. But usually for the grouping, this is better. But they kind of do the same thing, so I'll put them in A tier together. That's fine. They can kiss. That's fine. Okay, Lull. This is a Baruch. This is the sleep ability. The augment allows you to spread the lull around, which is pretty cool. I could see this having use. It especially has use in conservation targets, and that's the same with, where are you? Rest and Rage, here we are, from Equinox. These do effectively the same thing and have generally the same use. There's a place for them in combat, but I would generally say their use is for conservation, and what they do is like, there's like second to none in terms of being able to sleep targets, get perfect captures, which is great for farming standing, getting mods, all that good stuff, so strongly recommend that. Lyceth's Hunt is a banger. This is such a good ability. Where it applies, that's kind of like the balance of it, right? You need to be able to proc statuses and land headshots, and then you're able to get so much value out of this ability and keep it up forever. Big fan of Lyceth's Hunt. Good on like Valkyr. Pretty good on what's the other one? Korra uses it really well. I really like Lyceth's Hunt a lot. Mind Control I don't see used in a lot of builds. It's kind of whatever. I don't, again, this one is, I would say I'm being ignorant. If you have put Mind Control on another frame and it works really well, you should absolutely let me know. But I don't believe that this really has a place, especially like not on Nyx. I don't know if it's worth a Helminth slot. Molt from Saren is quite good. It's an amazing shield gate spam ability. I will say it doesn't have the most places, but in terms of like where I want Helminth to be, Molt does a really good job. Just being a bit like a way to get things off you, clear statuses off you, clear aggro off you. Molt just does its job. It's in like a really underrated defensive ability, in my opinion. Nourish is in Z tier. I hate Nourish. Nourish is almost worse than Roar. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm in Stock. I'm Stockholmed. I'm cooked. Okay. I love Nourish. I love Nourish. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love putting it in every build because then energy economy is like a falsehood now. Like it's not a real thing once you have Nourish in your build. It's so fun and damage. All your damage is increased. You give it to your teammates. You give it to your companion. So now you don't have to build a viral anymore. Nourish is so broken. It's unreal. And like I don't know if putting it in Z tier is me just like being upset or something, but it just feels like there is no real choice at all. Like it's 1984 and Nourish is my abuser. It's insane. I don't know. It's so good. You're getting viral all over the place, energy all over the place, and I wish there was like stronger energy options or like strong, because like okay, we have weird scythes. Where is it? From what's her face to Goth. Oh god, where is it? Hello, weird scythes. Yeah, like why would I ever run weird scythes when I have Nourish existing? Like that sucks. That makes weird scythes, a very aesthetically cool ability, feel kind of like a nothing burger. And like the only reason you'd run weird scythes is if you're like doing an invis build with a Hurras, Kubro, or a Shade. And that's just not a niche that's big enough to warrant the ability's existence, and that makes me upset. Justice for weird scythes, I'm gonna put that in B tier. Nourish makes me very angry, and I'm sorry, I'm just putting it in Z. It bothers me. Null Star is damage reduction, but Eclipse exists, so we're not dealing with that. Null Star also has to be recasted over and over, like when the orbs fly off. Eclipse just stays on and does what it says on the tin, which is way more valuable. These two are gonna put in the same. Where are you? Okay. Darkverse and Pyrotechnics. This is like Nezha's in a like a polyamorous relationship, and these are the two boyfriends. Dante's Darkverse and Temple's Pyrotechnics are insanely good with that build, and that alone is going to put this in B. These abilities are actually quite fine for like nuking, in the same vein as Thermal Sunder. I just think Thermal Sunder is a little better. This is Goss's Thermal Sunder. I will put it above because the augment lets you get free heat damage on hit, free cold on hit, or blast on hit, which is insane. So Thermal Sunder goes above that. It also hits in like a 360, which Darkverse I think only hits frontal, and then Pyrotechnics does hit 360. I think it targets enemies, as opposed to Thermal Sunder, which has no targeting. It just hits an area. So they're all good. It's just I think that Thermal Sunder is a little bit universally better, while Darkverse and Pyrotechnics work particularly well with Nezha's build. And that build with Spears of Retribution or Divine Spirit, whatever it is such a broken build that I'm willing to give them B tier just on those merits alone. Omamori does something with, you know, granted, like what it does is within the vein of like shield gating and shield recharge, vigilante vigor, and fast deflection. And it's corny, and can it make you immortal? Yeah. Does it help with health tanking? Yeah, but like there's a lot of other ways to help with health tanking. But as an aesthetic, it's a very cool ability, and I like it. I don't put much weight on aesthetics here. In my own playstyle, I do, but when I'm making a tier list, I feel like that's quite unfair. But the Omamori charms look really good on certain frames, so that's gonna put it in B tier, along with its ability to health tank properly, help with shield gating. Being a really bad Mesmer skin sucks, but like being a bad Mesmer, it's kind of like the conversation that we used to have as Warframe players with Nezha, and like having a weaker Iron skin back in the day. Like having being a knockoff Rhino isn't such a bad thing, if you ask me. Especially back in the day when Rhino was really the shit. Ophanimize is pretty good. I like Ophanimize. I don't know if I would put it in A. Ooh, you know, I like Ophanimize. It's a durate, you know, most armor strips are like a cast like and forget, which is bad because again we're going through so many enemies. Like that's why debuffs aren't always great, because you're killing so many enemies per second that like you have to keep recasting, but Ophanimize stays on, which I think is really convenient. So I'd say it's one of the better armor strips in the game. I think it's a full defense strip too. I think it's not just armor, which is nice. So I'll leave it there because of ease of use. Petrify from Atlas. This is a fine choice, I feel like. It's an expensive ability, which is unfortunate, which makes me like really like some frames like Atlas with Arcane Battery can like sustain an entire like apartment complex with how much energy he generates with battery and his rubble and his armor stacking. But I don't think many Warframes can afford to spam cast Petrify in the way that Atlas can. So, I mean, even with Orgaze in the equation, I'm gonna say, is it as bad as these other ones? Yeah, Yeah, I'll put it in B. I feel like that's acceptable. Desiccate, Decoy are here. Like, that's whatever. Pillage is S. Pillage gives you your shields back, shreds defenses, shreds or gets rid of debuffs, like statuses and stuff. What? Hello? Like, this ability is so good. It's disgusting. It also barely scales with range. Some of the flow out scales with duration. So if you're a frame who is building a lot less range and more duration, you can like flex the build around a lot. That's a really underrated part of Pillage, I think. I don't think I have to explain this too much. It's an armor strip that you don't always go for the armor strip, right? Especially because armor is like way less important than it used to be, which makes it like even more valuable because now you just get shields back. So yeah, Pillage is like insanely good. I don't think I have to explain that too much though. Is it underused? Maybe. Armor is just less important nowadays, but in terms of getting shields back, it does an incredible job. Pull is in the same conversation as Airburst and Larva. They both do a good job. I like Pull. It's a very honest ability. It gets done what it tries to get done. Good for like melee options. Lets you group enemies effectively. Quiver stinks. You get Noise Arrow and you get what is it? The Sleep Arrow. And at that point you have Lull and Rest and Rage. Like the Sleep Arrow is debatably a little better because you get to aim it further away and the effect therefore takes place further away. But you can get so much range on Rest and Rage and Lull that matters less. So I'm gonna also like when you're doing again where this is in like the conversation of like conservation targets, you don't always know where the conservation target is, so aiming doesn't actually mean that much. At that point you'd be shooting at your foot, which is the same as casting Lull, which is the same as casting Rest. So yeah, if I put Desiccate in if I put Desiccate in B because of the cats, I need to put Radial Blind in C because you cannot get cats from Radial Blind, unfortunately. Despite what the extremists are telling you, you can't do that, and it sucks. Well, Radial Blind's like a fine ability. Again, these abilities are fine. They can be made to work pretty easily. I just don't think that they are as strong as what's above them. That's fine. Reeve, I have yet to see on another Warframe. It works really well on Revenant because, again, it's part of a complete-ish kit. But I have yet to see this go anywhere. It's a really fun movement ability, but there's a lot of fun movement abilities, and there's a lot of fun ways to move around, parkour shards, so on and so forth. So Reeve's like fine. I would like to experiment more with it in the future, but I don't think it's really worth talking about here. Ooh, Resonator. Okay. Yeah, I'm putting in this. I think. Really underused because it's a bit of a niche way to survive. But what this does to enemy AI is so funny, and if its range was any higher, I'd pop it in Z. But its range, even with max range, I think only gets to like 30 meters or something. It's really good. I didn't really know how broken Resonator was until I started using it for myself. I would hear like Warframe content creators say, "Oh, it shuts off enemy AI, whatever." Like, well, Warframe YouTubers unfortunately are like the least, including myself, by the way, are the least reliable narrators of all time. So like, they say things and I can't tell if it's hyperbole or not, or metaphor or not, and it's super annoying. They are not lying to you when they say Resonator breaks enemy AI. It's very silly. Shock and Shock Trooper, this is just for Shock Trooper. If you need to force influence on a weapon, this is how you go about doing it. If I was not so lazy, I would just edit a picture of melee influence on top of this because that'd be funny, but I'm not going to do that because I don't feel like it. Ooh, okay, kind of hot take. I really like Shooting Gallery. I think it belongs in A. It's really underused, especially Muzzle Flash. It's augment. Basically, like every 6 kills or whatever, you fire a shot that blinds everything around you. You get some range on there. It buffs your damage. It goes on teammates. It jams guns. This is like a really underrated helmet in my personal opinion. I wish more people would use it. I understand getting a copy of Mesa is really hard, so that I do get. But you should give Shooting Gallery a try more often. Also, the aesthetic is very cool. Love that. Oh, Holy Buns. Shuriken needs to be buffed, man. I really like what they did to Ash. I think the rework was fine, and they could never touch him again for all I care. I just think it should give damage vulnerability. If it's going to be an ability that only throws 2 Shurikens out, and I have to equip an augment in order to make it shred armor, it should give like damage vulnerability or something. That makes sense for an assassin frame. So yeah, Shuriken needs to be buffed, but like Terrify, Alphanemize, they all exist. Therostrike exists, Pillage exists. There's no reason for this to be here. Silence, really underrated, Helminth. This turns off, Accolade abilities, certain mini-boss abilities, Xmas abilities. It's so good. And in some cases, the Savage Silence augment that gives a bunch of finisher damage is really strong here. So yeah, I would say Silence is really good, really underrated. I think that's why I'm putting it in A tier. Smite, I don't see anyone use it. And again, if I'm wrong, and this is like the most OP Helminth in the game, please let me know in the comments. But I haven't seen anyone use this. I have personally not used it. I don't know what purpose it serves. It's got an augment that can give you radiation damage, which is just the weakest status in the game, so I don't see the point. Yeah, go ahead and defend it in the comments though, please. I genuinely don't know. I'd love to learn, but I haven't seen much from it. Spectral Rage is kinda buns, but I'll put it in B because the augment is pretty decent. It basically, if you're able to group enemies and you can use Spectral Rage, you turn into an energy printer. This is a bit of a biased one because I used to use this in my Valbon build, and I miss that a lot, and I don't use it anymore. But it does print energy, which is really quite strong, and the distraction is like decent, I guess. I don't think it's on the level of like Banish and Fire Blast and stuff, so we'll put it there. Same with Spellbind. Spellbind is basically like a poor man's Prime Sure-Footed that costs you an ability slot. This is from Titania. It makes you status immune, and you can make your teammate status immune as well, I believe. So that's quite good. I think this is very good. Depending on what kind of build you're going, getting a second Titania can be a little bit hard, or even the first Titania really, but you know, I would say Spellbind is really good. Tempest Barrage is A tier. This, especially with Viral Tempest, this means you don't have to build any Viral. You can full shred if you have shards. You can almost full shred without shards. It's a pretty wide area, pretty good damage. I like Tempest Barrage a lot. Hydrate is not a particularly difficult farm. Again, Nourish, you know, but putting Viral, this needs an augment to apply it. But the augment Viral Tempest, I would say, is very worth using because this ability is good. Terrify, and the same conversation, is a really good debuff. Pretty low energy or strength requirements to full strip. I don't know why we have ability target caps in the big 25, but we do, unfortunately. So that definitely hampers it down a little bit, and it is a bit expensive as well. But I think the full strip and the CC are very valuable. Tesla Nervos is whatever. You get Archon Stretch out of it, which is quite useful. The CC out of it, which is quite useful. Tesla Bank, I think, is actually really good. Hard to execute on sometimes, but it'll do things occasionally. I don't think Tesla Nervos is on the same level as like Shuriken and Quiver and whatnot. So that's where it's going. Whew, okay. Thero Strike. Yeah, that can go away. It does basically the same thing as Nourish. Lower energy cost, a little bit harder to get all you want out of it. It's best if the enemies are already grouped ahead of time, but it heals you, and it deals damage to shields as well, I believe. Like Terrify armor strips, but this is just a full defense strip. And again, the healing is quite nice. I like Thero Strike a lot. Aesthetically, a very cool ability as well. Vile Rush is a Mickey Mouse goofy ability. Fun, for sure, but I don't think it really belongs in the conversation with anything above A, let alone B. Warcry, the attack speed's great. Armor's fine. It is a nerfed variant in Helminth, but I still think that melee attack speed can be really useful for like other frames. But the reason it's as low as B is because we have another melee focused Helminth that unfortunately eats it up, and that doesn't even include Roar, Nourish, and these things work in melee and buff damage in melee as well. It's much easier to mod for it's much easier to put a primed Fury on a weapon, or equip Arcane Strike or whatever for melee attack speed, then get like the things that Roar and Nourish and Wrathful Advance provide. Wrathful Advance is going in S tier. What it does is so useful. That's just flat crit chance and a teleport. You get a teleport too. The crit chance was not enough. If you get really good at Wrathful Advance's movement, I promise you will not be disappointed. Wrathful Advance is such a fun ability. Even if it's nerfed, you get so much crit chance from it, and makes basically any melee weapon feel very strong, which is like kind of my favorite kind of Helminth. It's niche enough, it only applies to melee weapons, right? It provides a little bit of utility in the teleport, and I can make my bad melee weapons that look really cool actually kind of good, which I love. Webbed Embrace, I have to put in B because I haven't used it yet, but I just know it's CC and damage vulnerability, which is a running trend here. So Webbed Embrace is just going to go in B. I don't have much experience with it personally, but I mean, it's got to be fine. It is nerfed in Helminth, which is unfortunate. Well of Life is like fine. It's healing. It's like, I guess if I'm putting... Yeah, okay. If I'm putting Blood Altar in B, I need to put Well of Life in B as well. I think it comes with the res as well. This is from Trinity. So well whip's fine. It's a healing source. It's not the most useful thing, but it does also, it keeps an enemy suspended in invulnerability, which can be nice. Zato's Whisper is S tier. This is not shocking at all to anyone, I'm sure. Just the extra hit, the BS with like acid shells, all sorts of weird interactions. Zato's Whisper, to me, as somebody with a lot of experience in Warframe, still confuses me this day to how it even works properly, but it is very good. I love Zato's Whisper on the builds that I feel strong, but I don't think it's as strong as like Roar or Nourish, nor do I think it's, again, I think S is where it belongs. Gloom, also S tier. And Z tier in terms of the most boring Helminth choice of all time. Not that I'm necessarily against Gloom or anything, it's just, it's the most boring means of survivability ever. You're just popping like Dio the world time slow to everything, time stop to everything. And that's really boring. The ability to look super cool, but it's basically turning off the game for your enemies. And that's kind of what Limbo does when people complain about that. So like, yeah, it's just an uninteractive option. The healing is super nice. I like that a lot. And again, I like the look of Gloom. You know, it's totally fine to pop on a huge variety of frames. But I don't like the way that it interacts with the game all that much. It's really cool in Stevagoth's kit, but in other kits, I think it's kind of annoying and cringe. But that's fine, whatever. To each their own. Flame me in the comments, that's fine. I don't care how you build. Have fun. That's what's most important. And Sentient Wrath, same as like Araxia's Webbed Embrace here. It's just whatever. Damage vulnerability is nice. I really wish you could do something with statuses here. Again, with the whole like Roar conversation, I wish there was more to it, but it's just damage vulnerability. You don't proc Tau. Pretty boring. I'm going to say not a huge fan. So that wraps it up for this segment. If you continue watching, I appreciate it. I'm just going to quickly go over the other Helminth abilities, the actual Helminth like integrated abilities. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you. Talk to you in a second. Alright, it's speedrun time, baby. So we've got, these are like, oh god, this is, oh, I don't remember what half these do. Okay, let me open the wiki page. Boom. Okay, I'm ready. So these are like the Helminth. You unlock these abilities by upgrading the Helminth like segment of your ship. And let's go over them. First, I'm gonna go over the ones that I actually care about. Oh god, okay. I love Infested Mobility. Okay, these are relative to each other, so don't think that Infested Mobility is the same as like Breach Surge or whatever. These are within their own little domains. Just keep that in mind. Honestly, I love Infested Mobility to death. If you've ever played like a spy mission or capture mission or rescue mission with Infested Mobility Loki, you haven't lived, dude. If you're like me and you're a firm believer in the government mandated parkour velocity shard, you will appreciate this Helminth ability so much. I love it to death. It's so fun. Sickening Pulse. Again, a Helminth I wish just did more. Kind of similar to like Sentient Wrath. I just wish it did more. It's nice you can apply 10 stacks of whatever you want. If it did more for like heat or electric, I think that would be really great. It's just cringe that it just refreshes stacks. I think that's super lame. I'm not a huge fan of that overall. Skill check. This is this is the one that makes it so that you insta hack things. It's cringe. Just get better at the game, or if you're like me and also cringe, just buy ciphers and press the Y button every time you're faced with a skill check. That's what I do. Voracious Metastasis. This is the one that... Oh god, yeah. Consume energy to heal yourself and grant matching energy to each ally. There are just better ways to give your teammates energy. This is a strange ability. Never seen it in my entire life. But if you use it, hey, have fun, man. Again, this is just my opinion. So if you have fun in whatever you want. This is Rebuild Shields. Instantly restore your shields, which sounds really good. Like, oh, Hildren can make great use of that. It has a cooldown. Cooldowns are kind of like, I don't know, the worst thing in Warframe. It's like, yeah, Warframe players are not used to not having an ability, which is why like certain frames feel off to certain people. It's the only drawback to evade, for example. Lavos can feel weird because of it. Yeah, cooldowns don't super belong in Warframe all the time. If you know, this one is like a case of it being integrated well. Obviously, Rebuild Shields would be broken if it didn't have a cooldown. But the cooldown again makes it not really worth taking over Pillage, which instantly restores your shields effectively as long as there's enemies with armor and shield around you. Yeah, this ability is not great, but I'll put it in B for rebuilding shields. Parasitic Armor. This exists for Rhino, my goat. If you like numbers and you like stacking Iron Skin, that's what this is for. This turns your shield into temporary armor. quite good. Master Summons is Buns. This pulls your companion to you and heals them. I don't know why you would ever use this. It should give your companion overguard or something, or a buff. This is a super weird one. Don't get it. Very outdated. Mark for Death has potential, had potential, used to be very broken. However, and it is now like nothing. It works on like Trinity and a true damage build, and that's just about it. I wish this was better, but Collective Curse exists now, so I can't see them doing much with this. Again, I really just wish it was a whole lot better. Hideous Resistance is just knock off Spellbind. This is just status immunity, which is fine. That's great. I'll put it in there. That seems fair enough. Golden Instinct. This lets you find collectibles. Just get the parallax, or look up a YouTube video, or use the wiki. But if you don't want to, you can use Golden Instinct. I won't sue you for that. That's totally acceptable. Expedite Suffering. Single target Harmony heavy attack, or single target Dante Tragedy. This is like whatever. It's nice to be able to one-shot people, but now that there's a melee weapon that can just heavy attack and do it, this doesn't have a reason to exist anymore, really. I don't know. I try to be charitable, but I don't think so. And then Energized Munitions is quite good in the niche situations that you want it. A lot of very specific content would be a lot more difficult without Energized Munitions. You put it on Mirage, on Saren. It gives you so much damage. Like, not damage in the direct sense, but it allows you to not stop firing, which is really useful if you're speedrunning Exterminates, if you're doing like certain arbitration meta strategies. Those would not be possible without Energized Munitions, so we appreciate that. Empower has the potential to be good, but for some reason it scales with nothing. So it only gives 50% ability strength for your next cast, which is just not enough. I think it should scale with strength a little bit or something. I think it's really lame that it kind of does nothing at that point. I'm not a huge fan of that. And that's it. That's it. Oh my god, thank you for getting through this. Hope you guys are doing well. Next video should be a guide. Should be a little bit more put together, edited, informative. If you guys watched throughout this whole thing, you have no idea how much I appreciate you. I see you guys commenting, subscribing, liking. That means the whole world to me. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. So much love for you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.